OpenAI is investing in hardware.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Affinity, provider of the CRM for the private capital relationship economy. Affinity knows who has the best relationship with the right startup. Affinity.co/marketplace.
From Marketplace, I'm Sari Benishore, in for David Brancaccio. We think of artificial intelligence as a service you use in apps or search, not tied to any particular device. But OpenAI, maker of ChatGPT, is reportedly dropping $5 billion to buy a startup focused on creating a new artificial intelligence-focused physical product. The startup was founded by Johnny Ive. That's the guy who helped create the iPhone and iMac. Marketplace's Nova Safo has more.
You may remember Apple device launch videos of a bygone era featuring the soothing voice of designer Johnny Ive.
An aluminium body and formed sheet of glass describe a singular shape.
Well, that shape, a smartphone, has been the same for decades and is now serving up AI tools. In a new video, Ive and Sam Altman announced that OpenAI is buying Ive's gadget startup I.O. and teasing a new ChatGPT-focused product to come.
Johnny recently gave me one of the prototypes of the device for the first time to take home, and I think it is the coolest piece of technology.
When we'll see this technology, Altman didn't say, but the aim is to reduce ChatGPT's need for the physical gadgets of other companies, such as Google and Apple. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
Fewer than 10% of American workers are currently represented by unions, but unions have become particularly visible in recent years, organizing drives against some of the country's most high-profile companies, from Starbucks to Amazon. Unions have also been receiving higher approval ratings. Marketplace's Mitchell Hartman reports.
Gallup has been tracking Americans' attitudes towards organized labor since the 1930s, says Director of Social Research Lydia Saad. And back then,
there was high public approval, over 70%.
Approval started falling in the 70s and 80s.
Times of economic malaise, unions aren't quite as popular. Record downturn in 2009 with the recession and the bailout of the big three auto companies.
But since then,
it's been on a long, slow climb back to near record high levels,
with 70% of Americans now approving of unions. Meanwhile, according to new public opinion analysis by labor economist Aaron Sojourner at the Upjohn Institute,
Americans favor labor unions now over big business more than ever.
About a 15-point difference. Sojourner says the favorability gap started widening after 2012 with the rise of Occupy Wall Street, Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign, and the stresses workers faced during the pandemic. I'm Mitchell Hartman for Marketplace.
All right, let's do the numbers. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ futures are all down in the 2 to 0.4% range, with Dow futures down 183 points.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Viking, exploring the world in comfort. With a fleet of small ships, Viking offers travel experiences for the thinking person. Discover more at Viking.com. And by Amazon Business, dedicated to helping businesses save time on office tasks and empower leaders with business buying solutions that support teams to focus on growing the business. Learn about smart business buying at AmazonBusiness.com.
It's been 5 years since George Floyd was murdered by a white police officer in Minneapolis. In the years since, big banks, including J.P. Morgan Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo, announced plans to invest millions of dollars in small, black-owned banks across the country. That investment was meant to let those banks make more loans to small businesses in underserved communities. Marketplace's Justin Ho recently visited one of those small banks to see how that investment worked out in its community in Columbia, South Carolina.
Optus Bank in downtown Columbia calls itself South Carolina's only black-owned bank. The bank's president, Benita Left, says its goal is to lend to small business owners and other borrowers who face systemic disadvantages that leave them without the things they need to have good credit.
They may not have equity in a house or a money market account or a savings account.
And that last one, historically, has meant that the bank hasn't had a whole lot of money to lend out.
Without deposits, it makes it very difficult for us to have the capacity to make loans, to our communities, to our small businesses.
So difficult that it wouldn't have been able to help if, say, a local business wanted to borrow close to $1 million to upgrade its equipment.
Before the pandemic, the legal lending limit of Optus Bank was somewhere around $500,000.
That's Dominic Miartin, Optus Bank's vice chairman. The bank received about $40 million worth of investment, much of it from 4 big banks: JP Morgan Chase, which declined comment for the story, Wells Fargo, which declined comment, and Citibank and Bank of America, which didn't respond to requests for comment. Their investment meant Optus could make more loans, and bigger ones, so that $500,000 loan limit?
Today, it's all over $12 million.
So when a local restaurant called The Friendly Caterer wanted to borrow $900,000 a few years ago, Optus Bank could say yes.
That's when the power of that capital is. Without that equity capital, we would never have been able to meet the needs of a small business like Friendly Caterer.
The restaurant is located inside the Columbia Airport. On the menu, candied yams, green beans, mac and cheese, and fried chicken. Tanisha Mackey works behind the counter.
You see that? You get that crisp? You hear that crisp? Yeah, fried chicken.
The Friendly Caterer opened up about 1.5 years ago. Sandra Sims is the owner. She's been running restaurants for almost 3 decades. Sims took me back into the kitchen to show me all of the new equipment that the loan let her buy.
Convection oven, a regular oven, an oven top, fryers, coolers, all of this stuff had to be purchased and was brand new.
Sims also used the loan to open 3 franchises in the airport: a Jimmy John's, a Dunkin' Donuts, and a Samuel Adams bar. Borrowing $900,000 was tricky, especially since Sims' collateral was mostly her equipment. But her track record was solid, and so was her business plan for the restaurants.
It's the airport. You know what I'm saying? Airport's not going anywhere. And the security of the business was based on our performance.
Sims says she's more than doubled her staff, from 26 employees to 58. Her sales have more than tripled. And none of this would have been possible without the loan she received from Optus Bank.
And for it to take a George Floyd to do it, it's, his name will live forever.
Sims says her goal is to pay off her loan within the next 5 years. In Columbia, South Carolina, I'm Justin Ho for Marketplace.
And in New York, I'm Sabri Benishore with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.